All right, everybody. Thanks so much for listening to Fire Breathing Rob. If you're listening to us on YouTube, definitely subscribe, like, and share this video because this is with an amazing man who we're going to be doing this interview with in just a second. And I'm sure a lot of the listeners that listen to you, this podcast, know this guy because they are progressive for the most part. This is Richard Ojeda, and he is a war hero, a true American hero, not like the people I laugh, Mr. Ojeda, when I hear all these Trump supporters saying, Mr. Trump is a true patriot. He never served. I don't know what the hell he's done. But so, Mr. Ojeda, thanks so much for coming on. Greatly appreciate it.
Hey, it's always a pleasure being on your show, man. It's always a good time.
All right, so we got a lot to kick around. I know you did run for the Senate. I was hoping you were going to win that primary. What do you feel like was the reason why you were not successful in the primary for the U.S. Senate?
Unions. The United Mine Workers of America decided to support Shelley Moore Capito over one yes vote. The thing about it was that, the miners for the past, 6-7 years had been fighting for their pensions and their medical. They got the medical, but the pensions were still out there. Basically, the only reason why that pensions bill was pulled out from under that stack of bills that were expected to die on Mitch McConnell's desk was because the governor of Kentucky got beat. And Mitch McConnell realized Republicans are losing in Kentucky. So to save his backside, he pulled that bill out, dusted it off because he's got coal miners in Eastern Kentucky. So they pushed the bill, and of course, everybody voted for it. Well, Shelley Moore Capito voted yes, like everybody voted yes. And because of that, the United Mine Workers of America decided that they were going to endorse Shelley. I had no problems with that. The problem that I had is that the United Mine Workers of America didn't want to feel like the odd man out. So they got the AFL-CIO to take no action in my race. I had a 100% voting record. I also had a person that was in the AFL-CIO that actually told me that they were getting a guy to run against me by the name of Richie Robb to take votes for me because they had basically promised Shelley Moore Capito that her opponent would be Paula Jean Swearengin. Now, let me tell you this. I support Paula Jean wholeheartedly, and I think Paula Jean can beat her. What they thought was going to be an easy fight is not. Paula Jean is absolutely traveling all across this daggone state, and she's lighting her up. And I think that if the people go to the polls and they vote for sending somebody to Washington, D.C. that actually wants to bring capabilities back to West Virginia, then they'll vote for Paula Jean, and Paula Jean can beat her. And if we flip that seat, that's one of those seats that nobody expects. We'll take back the Senate for sure.
I've heard Paula Jean on many shows. She is a progressive also. I like her. I just thought, I love your demeanor. When you go in there, you kick ass. You don't take no prisoners. And I know she's a good candidate.
Look. We've got to a point in this country where we don't have time for going in there and playing nice and scratching each other's back. It's about time for somebody to kick a friggin' door in and start threatening people with the friggin' ass whooping to do some right things for the citizens of this country. Now, look, I'm not talking about going up there to Washington, D.C. and punching people in the face. But there comes a time when we're going to have to take a stand and start fighting for the people. Because right now in this country, the teachers, the first responders, these are people that have been forgotten in this country. The coal miners, regardless, Donald Trump didn't save the coal industry. These are people that are struggling and they've been forgotten. I just don't understand how so many of them can still, continue on this path. But once again, I think it really comes down to the fact that they don't love Donald Trump because of the things that he has done for them, because he's done very little. They love Donald Trump for the things he's done against the people that they hate, like people of color, people in the LGBTQ community, and things like that. And that's just unacceptable.
So you were really instrumental in the teachers' fight against Jim Justice. I know that you guys won a good fight in that, and I know that really went and hit in Oklahoma, in Los Angeles, and all over the country with that, where teachers did go on strike and put up a huge fight against the establishment in the state governments. With that said, I know teachers are in a rough place right now as far as COVID. How are the teachers dealing with this right now in this crisis?
It is very, very frustrating because it's not just COVID. Yeah. When you're talking about having to teach basically remotely, on social media, Remember, West Virginia is one of those states that I would say probably 65% doesn't even have broadband capability. I mean, we're talking about, and then, you know, you got mommies and daddies that are addicted to the, you know, they're gone. And you got grandma right now trying to be the one that works the computer for her grade school kids to get online training. It's absolute, it's madness that's going on around here. And I'll tell you right now, I have friends that are teachers that are literally scared to death. And you know, when you're talking about grade school, you know, grade school kids, that you can't keep them apart from each other. You can't tell that kid that's got the Batman mask not to trade it for the kid that's got the Iron Man mask. That's the kind of stuff that's going on. And these teachers are absolutely going nonstop. You know, I mean, they have no time at all. They're in the classroom. They got half the classroom Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and the other half of the classroom Tuesdays and Thursdays. I mean, teachers are just going nonstop. I mean, it's brutal, and they're not. It's not like they're giving them extra pay for this, you know, because they're crucial. You know, shame.
I did interview one of the candidates for West Virginia governor about a few months back. I would say Stephen Smith. With that said, he seemed like a good candidate. I did watch a lot on him. He did lose a close race. What do you feel like happened in that race for governor?
I think that between the two of them, the majority of the people went for Ben Salango. I think Ben Salango is a fine candidate. I think he would be an amazing governor. He did a debate the other night and he smoked Jim Justice. But the problem is we're in West Virginia. The people around here are going to vote for Jim Justice because Jim Justice and Trump are good friends. That's it. You know, Jim Justice, his campaign signs basically say, help Jim Justice and Donald Trump make West Virginia great again. I mean, these bootlickers, they got orange shit all over their face, man. These guys are the biggest ass kissers I've ever seen in my life. And I don't support people that kiss ass. I support people that kick ass. And I'm telling you right now, it's a shame. Now, in terms of Stephen Smith, I will tell you that I have been very frustrated because, you know, the West Virginia Can't Wait movement it's a great platform. It really is. And they've got all kinds of people fired up and motivated. But the one thing that I have a problem with is that when you are running in the primary and you lose, then let's all get together and let's support the daggone Democratic nominee. I am wholeheartedly supporting Paula Jean Swearengin. I drove 3 hours the other day to stand and give a 4-minute speech on just for Paula Jean Swearengin to get back in my car and drive all the way back home. I support her wholeheartedly. But the thing about it is the West Virginia Can't Wait people have decided that they want to put a questionnaire out, and if Ben Salango doesn't follow all of it, then he's not going to get their support. You know, do they want Jim Justice? Because right now, that's what we're faced with. And these people, they're like the Never Bernie folks. If Bernie can't win, I'm not voting. That's how they are here. Stephen Smith didn't win, and a lot of them are being that way. Look, Stephen Smith's a great guy. He's highly intelligent. But I just think that this, you know, I didn't sign on to the West Virginia Can't Wait pledge. Every single thing on that pledge, I had already promised. You know, why should I sign on to their pledge when I already said that I wasn't going to take corporate PAC money, and I wasn't worried about, I wouldn't run away from a debate or anything like that. I've always been that way. But by not doing that, it kept me from getting support.
But I just had a question about that because I did interview, seemed like a good guy, but I was just curious of what happened in that race because I know looking at the polling, it was tight down to the wire in general as far as the primary went.
You know, they worked very hard. And they went all over the state. Stephen Smith campaigned his butt off. He did. But, you know, you have to understand that, you know, the unions are strong. I mean, in West Virginia, unions are under attack. But when you're talking about getting the union support behind you, that's a lot of votes. You know, that's why I lost. When the unions abandoned me, a person who had 100% voting record, over a Republican that absolutely will never fight right to work, that's why unions are dying in West Virginia. And they're going to die. They're going to die. The UMWA probably won't even be around in 5 years.
So, Mr. Ojeda, so they endorsed Shelley Moore Capito because they wanted to take votes away from you because they believed that that you were a stronger candidate than Paula Jean Swearengin. Is that what that thinking was?
I will tell you that's why they got Richie Robb to run, to take votes away from me. I mean, they was a guy that in the AFL-CIO, a guy actually stood up and said, it's not a big deal because Ojeda's going to win anyway. And then that's when he was told, wait, there's going to be another person jumping in here. And that guy took, and look, like I said, I'm not taking away from Paula Jean Swearengin.
Yeah, no, right.
But at the end of the day, that's what it was. The United Mine Workers of America did not want to be the odd man out, looking like they were the only one endorsing the Republican. So they got in touch with the daggone person over the AFL-CIO, and they all got together and they worked the whole, okay, guys, you know, if you guys would just choose not to, no action in the Ojeda, Paula Jean Swearengin, and Richie Robb race, we would appreciate that. No action is devastating. You know, that right there shows that they're not supporting the Democrat. And honestly, that's why West Virginia is dying. That's why it's been dying. You know, and I'll tell you another thing, too. I'm not really happy about Joe. And look, I get along with Joe Manchin. I do. But, you know, Joe Manchin is not endorsing Paula Jean Swearengin. And the sad part about it is when Joe Manchin was challenged by Patrick Morrissey, Shelley Moore Capito was doing commercials against Joe Manchin for Patrick Morrissey. But Joe Manchin doesn't want to participate, so he's chose to do nothing for this
Was
race.
that, sorry to interrupt you, was that because Paula Jean ran against him last time around?
You know, it could be, but it also, but at the end of the day, once again, if we're going to be Democrats,
yes,
you know, Joe Manchin he's the senior Democrat in the state of West Virginia. He needs to show what right looks like by supporting Democrats. You know, you can't be a strong Democrat and then pick and choose. You know, we got to support the Democrats. We got to flip West Virginia blue. Until we flip West Virginia blue, we're not going to get anything in this state. These people have it's a gridlock. We can't get nothing. And then when they promise you something, make no mistake about it, that's a carrot. They promised the teachers a second pay raise and then threw charter schools in the mix of it. And let me tell you something, that's destroying public school. Takes away from the funding. You know, it's a shame.
So let's kick this around. So after that race, you did start a group, No Dem Left Behind. Can you talk about that and what that's about?
Yeah, I didn't start the group. A guy by the name of Hassan Martini started the group. Phenomenal man, great guy. And he reached out to me. And the truth is, it was like turning the light switch on. This is me. I mean, we're talking about going into red rural districts and picking a fight. I mean, it's absolutely a perfect scenario for me. You know, we go out there and we find good candidates. And I will tell you, anybody who is watching this, go to NoDemLeftBehind.com, support our PAC, because we're going to work on November the 4th for 2022. That's a fact. But if you go to NoDemLeftBehind.com, you can check out our candidates. You will see Lindsay Simmons, who is a person running for Congress in Missouri's 5th District. She's a Harvard graduate, and her husband is active duty, deployed right now with a bounty on his head. You know, she is phenomenal. When you listen to Blair Walsingham from Tennessee's 1st District, wow, phenomenal. Devin Pandy from Georgia's 9th. We've got Adam Christensen in Florida's 3rd, Dr. Cindy Banyai and Alan Ellison in Florida's 17th and 19th District. We've got Tom Pausewicz in Wisconsin. We've got Dr. Gary Wegman in Pennsylvania's 9th District. We have the first female transgender Democratic nominee in Maryland's 1st District. And these people are sharp. And they're in red rural districts that it is almost impossible, is what the Democratic Party thinks. So the Democratic Party doesn't put any efforts. The Democratic Party basically says, let the Republicans have it. And that's the worst thing that you can do. Because if we're not going to go down into red rural districts, pick a fight, and invest our time and efforts in flipping red seats blue, we can never expect them to flip from red to blue. That's why I know Democrat Left Behind is probably the #1 organization that anybody listening to this needs to be supporting. Because the Democratic Party don't have a problem fighting races where the Democrat is the daggone is leading in the polls by 30 points. But we're jumping into races where we're losing by 15 points and we're flipping it around. That's a fact.
So let's talk about the coronavirus, and I do want to talk about Trump after that. As we talk about the coronavirus, can we talk about the economy in West Virginia and how the coronavirus has really even made it worse than it was before the coronavirus?
Absolutely, absolutely. Coronavirus, is hitting our state just like it's hitting every state. And the sad part about it is we have a man that is leading our state that happens to be so far up Donald Trump's ass he can see the food coming before it goes into his mouth. And the bad part about it is that he, just like Donald Trump, is trying to downplay all of this. And you can't downplay a deadly virus that has taken over 220,000 Americans. You can't do it. Nobody's got the guts to call for a mask mandate. What Jim Justice has done is he has taken the map that was basically created by Harvard, and it's a color coding system. And instead of taking that map and saying, okay, Harvard University did this, he's decided to pull out his box of 64 crayons out of his friggin' desk drawer in his office, and he's decided to change everything so kids can play football. That's all it's about. It's all about sports. And what he's even done is certain places like an old folks home. If an old folks home has an outbreak, they count that as one person. Not 30 people in the old folks home that contract the coronavirus. They count that as one. If the staff gets the friggin' virus, they count that as half a person. That's the kind of garbage that these people are doing. So, let me tell you something. We are all in danger because we have leaders that have their heads up their asses. And that's the way that it is all across this country, especially in red states where you've got people like DeSantis in Florida who wants to have a rally and high five everybody and hug everybody.
That's
and all
where
this.
I am. That's where I am.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So you see it. You've got Death Santos.
That's
it.
So,
but we have a lot of states out there that are led by people just like Death Santos and Jim Justice. And it is. It's been brutal. People have lost their jobs. The $1,200 check did not go to everybody. Right now, the biggest problem that we have in West Virginia is people filing for their unemployment. It's not happening. It's taken people months to even get through the door, and these people are struggling. They don't have no money. They're running out of groceries. They're just struggling, and places are closed down. It's brutal, and these people around here are struggling greatly.
So let's talk about that. Now we see that Trump, the Democrats wanted to put $3 trillion. They bumped it down to 2.2, I believe. Now that's where they're at right now. Trump went up to 1.8 as far as trillion. Now there's a fight right now. So but with that said, I know the election's coming up. I know everybody's trying to play politics on both sides. My thing is, Mr. Ojeda, is if you're Nancy Pelosi and you know that Trump has got the 1.8. Why not say, I'll take the deal with Trump, throw it to the U.S. Senate where Mitch isn't going to do shit anyway, but then you put the blame on the U.S. Senate for sitting on their ass and not doing anything. But Nancy Pelosi says that she's not going to take that deal. Why do you feel like this is happening? Why not agree and throw it at Mitch McConnell and says, make the deal? They're not doing that. Why?
Maybe because she's, and it's a shame. That's called political garbage that's going on right there. She probably thinks that they'll send it to daggone Mitch McConnell and he'll finally do something and pass it, which will help people. And I guess they're probably thinking, well, we don't want nobody to get any attaboys right before the election. Yeah. I don't know. All I know is that the American people are struggling, and we'd really like it for these friggin' assholes in Washington, D.C. on either side of the aisle to start working together. It bothers me that the friggin' Senate don't have time to daggone deal with a package to help American citizens, but we've got time for them to try to force feed a Supreme Court justice down our throats. That's the problem that we have in this country.
Well, they're hypocrites. Remember when Obama was in there trying to push Merrick Garland in, it's too close to the election. That was in February of 2016.
The Republicans are a do as I say, not as I do organization. And the truth is this, let me tell you something. This whole thing about, are you going to stack the courts? There's an easy answer to that. Joe Biden could answer that question. Kamala Harris could answer that question easily. And the answer to that is if you all force feed us this Supreme Court justice, we're going to wait and see. We don't have to do anything. But if she starts and the others start to band together and say they're going to attack LGBTQ community rights and lives, no. If you're going to go ahead and go after women's choice, no. If we have to stack the courts to make sure you don't get the ability to use your upper hand to make us the American Taliban, no, we're not going to do it.
So it's not even just those, and I think those are important issues that you spoke about, but also Obamacare. If that's going to come up on November 13th and be struck down as the law, you know, all the Medicaid expansion and a lot of these red states, we know Oklahoma just passed that a couple months back in their primary. People need this they really need Medicare for all in plain English, but at least they're going to get the Medicaid. Go ahead.
Absolutely. It's critical. But, you know, I mean, they asked her, I forget what the question was they asked her. And it was about, no, I think it was something about Donald Trump and elections. And she wouldn't answer it. She wouldn't answer it. Look, that right there alone is the red flag because this is law. This is law. Yeah. This is like mathematics. It's legal. It's not legal. Things don't lay in the middle in terms of justice. And if she doesn't have the courage to face to Congress and answer the questions on something that is absolutely illegal, then that right there is the red flag we have to worry about. We know, you know, it's like I saw something the other day that it was a photograph of Ilhan Omar. Yeah. And it said, when her religion is the problem. And then it had a picture of Amy Coney Barrett. It said, but hers isn't. Let me tell you something. Both the religion, the things that I'm seeing today in the United States of America remind me of what I saw in Afghanistan and Iraq. I would have never thought that I would have went from fighting Al-Qaeda and the Taliban to coming home and seeing American Taliban in our own streets. These people out here that are planning to kidnap and murder elected officials, they are nothing more than the Taliban on our soil. These people that think it's important for them to put their rifle over their shoulder and walk down and stand at a polling station are the American Taliban. And oh, by the way, 18 USC, 18 United States Code 594 outlaws anyone who intimidates, coerces in terms of when people are voting. So I'm going to start asking about that question right there because I'm sick and tired of going to the polling station and seeing people out there handing out slates. Yeah. Is that not trying to coerce people to vote a certain way? That should also be illegal.
But with that said, are we seeing people in West Virginia adhering to the CDC guidelines, or are they just adhering to what Trump says that kids can't get this?
It depends on where you're at and who you're with. You know, I mean, you go into Walmart and there's people at Walmart at the front door that are asking people to wear masks. Okay. But people are walking through the front door and then they take their mask off. They walk around the store with no mask. And nobody in the store is walking around saying, excuse me, but you need to put your mask on, which is exactly what needs to happen. You know, that's why it's important. We just had a debate for the governors in West Virginia, and Ben Salango, who is the Democratic nominee, said we need to establish a mask mandate where everybody has to wear a mask. And honestly, that's exactly what needs to happen. And until we have enough leaders that have the courage to do what's right during a global pandemic that is killing over 200,000 people, it's going to continue going this way. You know, the reason why other countries have far less than us is because they are taking it serious. Even in India, I remember when the virus first established in India, the police were grabbing people off of their mopeds and whipping them with switches. Because if you're going to be out and you're not wearing a mask and you're out for no reason, you're going to get your ass handed to you. You know, that's and when you're talking about a global pandemic that is killing people, then I'm all about it. Whip their asses.
So let's ask this then. In the 55 counties, and I know Trump won pretty much every county, and you can say if I'm wrong on that in 2016.
No, he did.
Are we seeing that any of these people in West Virginia that are Trump fanatics that the COVID-19 is changing their minds? Because I'm seeing that in Florida, that I'm seeing a lot of Biden signs on people's lawns that I had never seen before. And people that I have a friend that voted for Trump because he hated Hillary Clinton, and he is now voting for Biden.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, you know, Donald Trump won West Virginia by like 80% against Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump right now is probably, I think he's like 59%. 59% to like 38%, something like that.
Yeah.
That's a big change, you know, and there's a lot of people that are waking up. There's a lot of people that are realizing that, you know, this isn't true. A lot of people in West Virginia are not going to, they're not like me. They're not going to stand up and say, I don't give a shit. I'm going to tell you what you think. Right. A lot of people in West Virginia will sit back quietly, even though they know that this is wrong. And they'll, and a lot of them will do what's right. When I was running for state Senate, I ran against a man who ran Logan County with an iron fist for 30 years. Then he was appointed as a state senator. Let me tell you, when I ran against him in this area, and we're talking about a guy who controlled this place. You know, when I ran against him, you would have never thought I could have beat him. Every single yard had had one of his signs in it. Sure. But the thing about it was, these people would come up to me and say, look, I have his sign in my yard because I'm worried that if I don't, it could cause me trouble. But you're going to get my vote. Wow. I beat him by 2,700 votes in my Senate race. And that would have been absolutely unheard of. I mean, people actually said that race will be spoken of 50 years from now, because it was the first time where a person that was established in power, that was absolutely like a tick dug in, was defeated by somebody who come out of nowhere. Because I was gone. I spent 24 years away, and then I come back to West Virginia, and I immediately said, you people aren't worth a shit. And I started challenging.
So let's talk about the environmental crisis, and then I want to end the interview with a lot of these questions on Trump and Biden in general. Doc Waters, it was a movie that came out last year with Mark Ruffalo, and he did the whole movie. It was about a true story that how DuPont went and dumped all their toxic waste in areas of West Virginia. And these people that didn't know about it, they ended up getting sick, getting cancers, dying. People were born with birth defects, with all these other issues. And that led to a problem down the line for years upon years on end. What is this still going on in West Virginia? Because I remember, you know,
we had a tank. Yeah, we had a tank in Charleston, West Virginia.
Sure.
And of course, this tank was right next to the daggone river. And that tank leaked, it leaked. Nobody was paying attention. It poisoned the water for over 400,000 citizens in West Virginia. And I can remember at that time, I had started a nonprofit organization, and we were delivering meals and water every single day to an area called Sharples, which is up in the middle of the boonies. You know, I mean, we're talking about a place where you got to pump sunshine into, you know. But, you know, these people were struggling. And, you know, the elected officials in West Virginia at that time ran straight to the Capitol and pushed legislation to protect the company that daggone poisoned the water. That's the problem that we have, is that we need clean water. Clean water equals life. That's just the way that it is. But the problem is, when you have elected officials that allow their office door to be opened up at any given time for things like big energy, big pharma, and places like that, then they're always really quick to turn the other way, push legislation to protect those very companies. The opioid epidemic also has ripped us apart. Right. Our state adjutant general, Patrick Morrissey, allowed the pharmaceutical companies to get away with a $2 million fine, which is a slap on the wrist, when we were ground zero. We were the lab rats for those people. And his wife was a lobbyist for Big Pharma. Wow. That's the kind of garbage that happened here in West Virginia. And that's how come, that's the problem, is every time when we want to protect our water,
Yeah.
As soon as a daggone coal operator wants to dump water in the daggone, wants to get rid of some of that slurry, then they go talk to some legislators and they push a daggone bill, you know, taking away regulations that keep our water clean. And everybody's all too willing to check the mark on that because it's helping us keep coal jobs.
So, Mr. Ojeda, how can we call this the greatest country on earth when we have millions of people in the streets? And I remember you were in the movie with Michael Moore. You said some of these places that you were living in, it look worse than Iraq and Afghanistan. People don't have health care. People don't have jobs. How can we say it's the greatest country on earth?
When I said that to Michael Moore,
yeah,
literally 15 minutes after that interview, I took him literally 5 minutes away from that coffee shop we were at. And he was like, holy shit, we're talking third world country. Fact. That's just how it is. Let me tell you something. I'm sick and tired. The only thing we are the number one at is our military can kick anybody else's ass. Other than that, we are far from number one. We are not the greatest country on earth, but we could be. We could be if we got our heads out of our asses, started electing people who cared about people, and made the citizen the priority. But right now we don't have that because right now our country's all about prepping up the top 1%. Our company has things like the Fortune 500, which makes people like Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg greedy little bastards because they want to make sure that they're always moving up because there's something about saying, I'm the richest man in America. I'm the richest man in the world. And nobody wants to look these people in the face and say, hey, instead of being remembered for the richest person on the planet, which comes with things like the greediest, how about you get remembered for being the man that ended world hunger?
Agreed.
For being the man that stopped homelessness in this country. You can do it. You could do it because you have that money. How come nobody wants to speak to these people about that? I'm sick and tired of your Fortune 500 polls that do nothing but that push daggone greed. It's garbage. Jeff Bezos has enough money. He couldn't spend it in 100 lifetimes. So why? Why do you need more? How about stop and then spend the rest of your life helping those that need help?
It's a mental illness, I believe. I truly believe that.
Well, you know what? The truth is you're right. There is a mental illness there. These people may have all the money in the world, but they lack a lot. You know, they lack care. You know, it's empathy. You know, they don't have it. They don't have it.
Well, Trump lacks empathy, and I want to bring something up that he really lacked empathy on when he called people that you've served with, people that were your brothers and sisters, suckers and losers. How do you, as a person that's won so many awards, that is truly a war hero, how do you feel if somebody's saying that never served a day in his life, that was born with a silver spoon in his mouth?
Donald Trump and his entire friggin' bloodline can kiss my ass. I'm gonna tell you right now, ain't none of them worth the shit. Friggin' ain't none of them have ever served this nation. None of them, they know nothing about sacrifice and service. I will tell you that we know for a fact that Donald Trump disrespected prisoners of wars. We know for a fact that he disrespected a Gold Star family. For people that are watching that don't know what a Gold Star family is, that means that they lost someone in combat, like their son was killed. That's how you become a Gold Star family. We know that Donald Trump tried to blame a Gold Star family on giving him the friggin' virus. We know that he stood at Plot 60 and said, what was in it for them? We know that he's called us suckers and losers. And the thing about it is that I'm hoping and I'm praying that every single veteran out there, everybody that's wearing the uniform, is seeing that and realizes what we have going on. Donald Trump can continue acting like a spoiled brat in Washington, D.C. He can continue talking about and planting the seeds that there's not going to be a peaceful transfer of power, but make no mistake about it. 500 general officers in the United States military have endorsed Joe Biden. The Taliban endorsed friggin' Donald Trump. Make no mistake about it, there will be a peaceful transition, whether they like it or not. And make no mistake about it, your Proud Boys, your KKK, your neo-Nazis, play your bullshit games. Play your bullshit games and make no mistake about it. The last thing that you want is to find your friggin' door kicked in at 2 o'clock in the morning by the 2nd Ranger Battalion, by the 82nd Airborne Division, by the 10th Mountain Division, because we make the decision that we're not going to let this shit happen on our soil. Make no mistake about it. You want to play your bullshit games because you're a member of MIL Team 6, you fat bastard with your friggin' rifle that you just bought from the local store? The last thing you want is a real friggin' daggone ranger, a sapper, a paratrooper kicking your friggin' front door in, guaranteed.
Right. If Trump ever went through the stuff you went through, he'd be first day he'd be running with his pants down between his legs like a little bitch.
Let me tell you something. They couldn't. They wouldn't even be able to daggone survive the first week of training in the reception station before basic training starts. I mean, look, this is the thing too. Is there's so much out there. There's so much out there. There's so many books now, but this one right here. This is Michael Cohen's book called Disloyal. This book right here will tell you so much. And look, am I promoting the book? I don't even know the guy, but I'm going to tell you this. This book lets you in on a lot of things that was done, that was underhanded. The claims that Obama was born in Kenya, they made that shit up in his office in the Trump Tower. They made that up, and then they started going around the middle parts of the country, and they realized, wow, people are falling for that shit. And that's what and then they said that he got into Harvard because of affirmative action and that he was a shitty student. And that was absolute garbage, because we know that President Obama graduated with magna cum laude. He was the first editor of the Harvard newspaper. Yeah, I mean, Law Review. Yeah. But what happened was then they realized, oh my gosh, what if they turn around and want to look for Trump's scores? Michael Cohen contacted Trump's military academy, and those scores no longer exist. That's what they did. Do you know how they got the evangelicals to support Donald Trump?
It was the Jewish stuff. Right?
No. That wasn't what got the evangelicals to start coming around at first. Was the fact that Michael Cohen got the Falwell's daughter front tickets to Justin Bieber's concert. So he did them a favor. You see? And then there was another daggone evangelical that's wife got caught naked driving around on a tractor. And he made those pictures disappear. None of them. Don't fall for none of it. Let me tell you something. Every one of them also has traveled around this country and has claimed to heal the sick, but yet they haven't healed one single person on a ventilator that's struggling with the coronavirus. These people are the biggest daggone grifters in this country, and we need to start taxing every damn one of them. I'm sick and tired of watching people write a check to plant a seed, and what that really is that's your pastor's Mercedes-Benz payment. Thanks. Tired of them. I don't play religion anymore. I don't play. I can talk to God anywhere I want. But I'm telling you right now, I'm sick and tired of all these fake people out here trying to act like they care about anybody. They don't care about nobody.
So you brought this up. We see all these militia guys running around, the Proud Boys, the Boogaloo Boys now. They were in Michigan at Gretchen Whitmer's house saying that they were going to rape her and shoot her and all this other crap. Why? My thing is, with these guys running around with all these AK-47s and all these guns, they're strapped up like they're going to Iraq or Afghanistan or something like that. Why don't they join the military?
Because they don't have the friggin' courage. They don't have the courage, or they don't have the intelligence to pass the exam. That's what it is. That's what it is. So since they can't pass the physical, they can't pass the mental part of it, so they just want to daggone run around and act tough. Let me tell you something. First and foremost, look, I have guns.
Yeah,
and my thing is that if you want to carry a gun, carry it concealed. If you don't carry a gun concealed and you're not a police officer or something like that, then you're a friggin' idiot. And the reason why is this. If you're in Walmart and you're walking around and you making sure everybody sees you got 2 friggin' pistols sticking out of your friggin' side so you can look like friggin' Mr. Gunslinger, you have to understand that if there's a person in that store that is getting ready to probably go postal on somebody. Well, do you not think that the first person that they're going to take out is the friggin' asshat walking around with all the guns? Yeah. Of course, that's what they're going to do. And then you also have to understand this. What happens if a guy goes crazy in Walmart, starts shooting the place up, and you got a guy over here that's got a gun? What happens? What is he going to do? Is he trained to move towards the sounds of the guns? Because combat soldiers are trained for that. These average jackaloons out here are not. And the thing is what happens for them is they want to be a hero. They don't even know what the hell they're doing. So I'm sorry, they wanted to fight back, but in the process, they shot 3 innocent people, because they don't go to the range every month and daggone shoot their rifle or their pistols. They just have them for show.
But my question is whether Trump wins or Biden wins. We hope Trump doesn't win, but regardless of who wins this election, these people are out of Pandora's box. They're out there now. They're racist, anti-Semitic. They're just total whack jobs. They're going to run around with this gun, especially, I believe, if Trump loses, they're going to even act more crazy.
No, they're not. They're whack jobs right now, like they'll be the same whack jobs after the election. They're going to bitch, they're going to gripe, they're going to whine and cry, and then in daggone January 20th, they're going to get over it, and they're going to go by their normal lives. Most of them are not stupid. And make no mistake about it, if the people in this country, if those assholes want to jeopardize the Second Amendment, they're the ones that will kill the Second Amendment. That's a fact. Because make no mistake about it, if you have to take the guns away from people that are a hazard in this country, their Second Amendment will go. It will go. That's a fact.
You're not worried about even before that with the voter intimidation that these guys are supposed to show up at polling places.
I don't give a shit. First and foremost, like I said, 18 USC 594. You go to the polling station, if you got people out there standing with guns, take photographs of them, because every damn one of them standing out there is breaking a friggin' law, and they better be held accountable for it. That's number one. Number two, let me tell you something. Look at all the people who have already voted by mail. Guess what? I mean, massive amounts of people have already have had their voices heard by mail. You're not going to have that many people actually showing up right now and showing up at the polls on election day. Why? Because you can mail in your ballot now. Why? Because early voting takes place here in a couple of days. And a lot of people do that. What you're going to get is the last few people that haven't already voted are going to go to the polls. And still, it doesn't matter. If you go to them polls and you see somebody out there standing there handing out slates, take a photograph of them. You see somebody out there with a daggone rifle on their back, take a photograph of them, because they're breaking the law. And make no mistake about it, when all this stuff is said and done, all these people running around there who say, I don't want nobody to know what I got, but you're running around with it on your shoulder, guess what? We know what you got. So you can't deny that shit.
If you did win the nomination for the Democratic Party, how would you have debated Trump in a debate?
I will tell you, I would have lit his ass up. That's just the way that it is. Let me tell you something. Donald Trump talks tough, but Donald Trump don't know what the hell he's talking about. You see? I'll tell you right. That's the thing. I can guarantee you, Donald Trump, when he was debating Hillary Clinton, he was walking around her the whole time. I guarantee you, he'd keep his ass behind his desk with me. That's a fact. And once again, Donald Trump is not an intelligent person. He's not. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of things that Joe Biden should have done. He should have absolutely attacked Donald Trump on Ivanka Trump's $750,000 friggin' consulting fee that she got, her job from the White House. The president makes $400,000. His consultant that knows nothing but handbags made in sweatshops in China. That's the kind of garbage that we have. He should have busted him out on that. He should have busted him out on the fact that he paid $750, in taxes 2 years, and 10 years paid no taxes. He should have busted him out on that big time, but he didn't. And I disagree. I think that he should have went after him for that. Our average citizen out here, a nurse will pay $11,000 in taxes. A teacher will pay $8,500 in taxes. A daggone firefighter will pay $5,700 in taxes. And Donald Trump pays $750. That's absolutely a travesty. It's a travesty. Bust him out on the fact that that he has golfed more in 3 years than than Obama did in 8 years. Bust him out at the fact of knowing that you've raised your prices at all of your resorts that you stay in, and that's cost the American dime, the American citizens, $43 million, so you can stay in your own resorts, and that money goes in your pockets.
And he puts all his Saudi friends up there when they come over, and all these foreign diplomats, they put them in the Trump hotels. They're making money, like you said. Nobody says a freaking word.
They buy the entire floor when they do that. I mean, Donald Trump is fleecing this country, and that's exactly what he's doing. And the truth is that, you know, initially he did this as a stunt for publicity. He did. And it just happened to catch on. And then they said one day, we might be able to do this. And it's in the book. The conversation is in the book.
Why do you feel like Democrats don't win in places like West Virginia where there's extreme poverty and the Democrats are trying to bring jobs and health care to these people, but they're voting against their own interests? Go ahead.
You're wrong.
Okay.
You're wrong because those people that were in power for 88 years in West Virginia only gave a shit about coal. And then later on in the years, we absolutely did not. I tell people all the time, do you want to know how come West Virginia lost control? The Democrats lost control after 88 years? Because they sucked. Because they ran and nobody ever challenged them, and they won over and over and over again. They ran unopposed most of the time because they were good Democrats. And the truth is that when finally Republicans stood up and said, you guys suck, everybody looked and said, they do suck. And then they voted for the Republicans. And the Republicans took over in 2014. And from 2014 to 2020, the Republicans have decimated this state. And the truth is that I hope that we take back the state. We need to take back the state. It's got to go back to the blue. But if it goes back to the blue and the people that are there don't start, if they go back to the same ways of I'm in power, this is me, I can do what I want, and they don't give a shit about the people, we're going to lose it again. It can be a damn tennis match.
Are we saying that the Democrats lost because they didn't stand up for workers' rights, for progressive values in general?
No, they lost because they were all a bunch of friggin' in their pockets, just crooked friggin' lying assholes is what they were. I got a friggin' guy in the next county of mine that when he took over as a senator, he controlled the most impoverished district in the state of West Virginia. McDowell County is one of the counties in that district. Guess what? 32 years later under him, guess where they were?
Same thing. Last
again, still. They didn't do nothing. He went there for 32 years, walked in every morning. What's on the docket, boys? Looked at it. Oh, okay. And then he looked and see if he could amend any bill that would benefit him directly. Didn't give a shit about nobody. Yeah. You know, and oh, by the way, the guy that beat him, the rumor is he paid that guy's filing fee. He thought it was funny. But the guy that beat him, I do know for a fact, the guy that beat him, absolutely dumb as a damn stump. But the guy that beat him got a phone call at like 2 o'clock in the morning that said, congratulations, Senator. You know what he did? He hung up on him because he thought this is a bunch of bullshit. This is a joke. The next morning, when he woke up, he realized, what? You mean I actually won? But that's the thing is, that's how the Republicans took power.
Yeah.
And these people that are in power are not good people. I've watched them kill the wage bond. I've watched them go after safety measures on the jobs for crane operators. I've watched them disrespect teachers and school service person. They don't give a shit about a bus driver, a cook. They don't give a shit about these people. I watched it face to face, you know, and that's the thing. That's who's in power. That's who's in power. That's how. And oh, by the way, charter schools, half these friggin' assholes in the Senate in West Virginia that push charter schools now own charter schools. Think about that. You're voting on things that you're actually friggin' got your hands in the cookie jar of.
Are you worried about Biden, you know, because he's really been coddling up to a lot of these Republicans, such as Colin Powell, John McCain's wife, a lot of other Republicans that I'm just, you know, not naming right now, instead of a lot of progressive politicians. Are you worried about that?
Well, absolutely. No, I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about that.
Okay.
You know, first off, the progressives when selecting between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, it should be a no-brainer. But
Agreed.
the mere fact that we have senior leaders in this country on the Republican side that are coming out and saying, look, you know, I'm a conservative, but over these last 3.5 years, what I've seen in the White House is it's not for conservatives. It's not for liberals. It's against America. That's the key. And you know, I mean, I think it's great that, you know, John McCain's wife is supporting Joe Biden. I think it's great that Colin Powell is supporting Joe Biden. That's what we need. We need more of them people to come out.
But let me push back and say there's a lot of people that were in the Bush camp, George W. Bush. These were the people that pushed for war in Iraq and Afghanistan, the lies of WMDs, and Joe Biden is cozying up to these people. What would you say to people that say that it's more of...
Understand that, you know, what was the information, the intelligence that we had back then. Mm-hmm. I remember when I went to Iraq, I literally thought that I was going there to find weapons of mass destruction. Mm-hmm. Just because we didn't find them because they didn't exist doesn't mean that, you know, all of us people who went to Iraq are bad. No, they had intelligence that told them that, you know, the Saddam Hussein was sitting on some friggin' atom bombs and stuff like that. So it is what it is. I don't hold it against these people. Now, you know, to me, we have to look at the future. We can't live in the past. I'm not happy. I'm not happy when I think about the fact that we were allowed. Look, I think the worst person on the face of the earth is Dick Cheney. I think that man is the reason why we left Afghanistan when we had Osama bin Laden in the friggin' Tora Bora Mountains, and we was listening to him on friggin' radios. That's how close they were, you know, and they pulled them out of there and invaded Iraq for friggin' no reason at all. And then that right there put us into a damn war, gave Afghanistan, the Taliban, the ability to push this out for 20 years. You know, that's a problem. Dick Cheney was the one. They used Bush. They used him to push their agenda.
Well, it was Cheney, Rumsfeld, Paul Wolfowitz, all those guys.
And you know what? Honestly, I think that they should face justice for what they have done. I really do.
Agreed.
I hate those people because we know now that that's what this was. This was a ploy to push us into war because war makes people rich. Halliburton, Brown and Root, Dick Cheney folks.
Agreed. And a lot of those people are in Trump's cabinet too. A lot of these military contractors. Last question. What do you expect from a Biden administration if he does win?
Well, I expect, number one, for us to finally go back into the Paris Climate Accord. I think that's something. I guarantee you that we're going to reestablish the connection with the Wuhan lab in China. I believe that Joe Biden is the type of person. Are you there? Okay.
Yeah.
I believe that Joe Biden is the person that is respected across the globe. We have lost our falling. We used to be looked at as the leader of the free world, and now we're not that anymore. Under Donald Trump, we're not. Germany right now is the leader of the free world, you know, because they just have their shit together. America doesn't. We need to Joe Biden can put us back into the good graces of the people, our allies, you know, because right now it's not. Trump is not. Our allies do not look at Trump as a leader. They don't.
So as we end the interview, again, this is Richard Ojeda, former state senator, former presidential candidate, and former Senate candidate. Mr. Ojeda, last thing before we cut the cord here, what are you going to do next? I mean, I know you're with the organization, the PAC, but any kind of public service that you're looking into next? Because we need people like you.
Well, you know, I'm actually moving to North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Just recently bought 19 acres.
Nice.
And my family, my entire family, I'm talking my sisters and their husbands, we're all going down and we're going to build our houses on that area. We love North Carolina. I spent almost 20 straight years serving on Fort Bragg, North Carolina. So we love it there. My wife loves it there. My kids love it there. There's far more opportunities there. So we're going to go there. When I get to North Carolina, you know, I'm not running into politics. You know, I'm never going to be silent. I'm going to continue doing what I do. I'm going to continue with No Democrat Left Behind. I love this role. It's perfect for me. And there's some other things that me and a couple guys, a couple of veterans have gotten together and have created. I don't want to really talk about them on here.
Sure.
But believe me,
you won't be silenced.
Oh, hell no. Let me tell you something. Like I said, I spent 24 years in the military defending this nation. Make no mistake about it. I'll never shut my mouth.
I got to tell you, I love listening to your Facebook Lives. And I know they're like almost an hour long, but I listen to the whole damn thing. And it's always good, funny stuff. And I love, you know, people try to go on there and heckle and say bullshit, and you go and hit them back on.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Look, I don't have a problem with people coming to my page that disagree with me. Let's have a debate and let's people watch. You may educate me on something that I wasn't aware of. But if you're going to come on my page and just go Trump 2020, then you're a friggin' idiot. You're a jackass, and you got to go. It's just how it is. Bring something to the table, moron. That's how I look at it.
All right. Hey, Mr. Ojeda, thanks so much for coming on the program. Greatly appreciate your time.
Hey, thanks, brother.